Good afternoon. Welcome to the Finance Committee, September 10th, 2024. I will lead us in the blessing, and Commissioner Alford will lead us in the pledge. If you would, please stand. Dear Heavenly Father, thank you for this day. Thank you for all that you do for each and every one of us. Lord, we just ask you to be with each and every person here and their families they represent. Guide us today as we decide and make decisions. In Jesus' name I pray. Amen. All right, thank you. Before we get started, I want to add one tiny little thing to the agenda. When we get to item B, Public Water Fund, Lori's got an extra address that she's going to chat about. So we're talking about Rakestraw Road, White Oak, Hewitt Street, and what's the other? There's another one, Lori. I forget the name of it. You're fine. Yeah. So she'll have that Banker Road. So we'll add that to our agenda. Other than that, we'll go to our amendments. First amendment, pages 2 through 9. We have already approved that. That came through a work session. That was the increase for the school employees. So that one's already been approved and passed by the full commission. So we can go straight to page 10. Also staying with the Bradley County Schools. In this amendment, they're decreasing their fund balance by $47,220.20 and increasing their expenses. And she has it itemized right here. This is the Spark 4.0 grant award. I believe that's the one that you get every year. And they're just moving it out of their fund balance to pay the bills. I have a motion to accept the amendment from Commissioner Mason. Oh, this is going to be fun all day. Second from Commissioner Alford. Any further discussion on this amendment? Seeing none, all those in favor say aye. Opposed say no. Passes 3-0 and 2 absent. That takes us to page 12. And this is all right, she's decreasing her fund balance by $5,292,033.26. You can see the two, it's the same fund, the same account, but she has it itemized. One of them was $1,825,000. The other one was $3,467,000. Any particular reason why you itemized that? I just could have been Susan. We have a couple people watching. They can't hear you. You itemized. You itemized the fund balance.
Right. I think Ellen just put that in there separately because once you get to the amendment for 177,
okay,
you'll see where that transfer comes in, and it just makes it a little easier to understand how it's flowing in.
And then she's increasing her expenses, and you see the itemization. The question I had, I meant to call you yesterday, transfer to well, I guess you may just address that. Transfer to 177, education and capital projects. And you have 141 as one of your funds, 141. Is it another amendment to 177?
There is.
So you decrease the fund balance again to 170?
Transfers it. We have to do an amendment for each fund separately. So this is where you're seeing it leave 141 for the 3.4 million. And then when you look at the 177 amendment, that's on page 19. You'll see that same 3.6 transfer in.
So there's your 177 on the expense side. Okay.
Yes.
But
right. And then the 1.8 we're leaving in 141 to fund our capital outlay.
Your capital, right. All right. There's going to be a little bit of discussion on this one, but I need to get a motion from Commissioner Alford. I have a second from Commissioner Mason. Commissioner Alford, you're recognized.
Yes. Curiosity, I guess, as much as anything on your capital outlay projects at the baseball field, bleachers, and the track. I noticed when you had your board meeting that you only voted on the baseball field and the bleachers. Was there any reason that we left out voting in a meeting on that? Yeah, I know you had it in your packet, but why wasn't it voted on like the other two?
We didn't have, well, it's not actually happening yet. It's just that money's been allocated. When we had the, what I remember is when we had the retreat with the board and they were directing on these projects. This was in there, so we were budgeting that money. But nothing has happened with it because it still has to go through architects and bid process. None of that has happened.
So you bid on two, but you didn't bid on the other one. I mean, you voted on two, but you didn't vote on all three.
Well, they voted on the appropriations. They voted on the amendment, which included that. So they
But
really,
it was in your packet, right? The other two was voted on by the board.
all of the amendment was voted on by the board.
The
had
track wasn't, Walker Valley track wasn't voted on that day. It was in your packet, but it wasn't voted on by the board. I guess that's what's wondering
You
why.
might need to talk to the board on that.
Bit of background. They had gone back and forth with the bleachers. So we had bids for the bleachers, and so they approved the bleachers, but in approving the appropriations, but we do not have bids for the track repairs at this time.
So that's why it was just in your packet.
Right. And when they get bids on the repair, that will go back. You've already approved the appropriations, but there has not been a bid. So
Has
they'll
that
have,
happened yet? At
No.
300,000 for the track?
no, we have not put that out to bid yet.
In your,
You got it.
okay. Back when you had your summer, whatever you all called it, retreat, I guess.
Mhm.
You talked about a 2.1 Bradley track and Walker Valley track. Do you remember that?
What I can remember is discussion about the tracks and asking the commission to take on the tracks. It was plural both, but when the commission came through, the only piece that was in there was the Bradley track because the Walker Valley track needs repairs. It doesn't need a
Right.
full replacement.
I guess when I saw that, go back to that resolution we passed on the
Right.
Hopewell and all that, I've always wondered where that 1.8 came from. Who come up with 1.8?
The 1.8, well, when we, and I'm not 100% sure of the numbers that you're referencing, I would have to get back with you on that one.
Because I remember you talked about 2,100,000 in your
Mhm.
camp.
Mhm.
And you took 300,000 off for the Walker Valley track. That left 1.8. I guess that's where that came from. I don't know.
We can go back and look at that and get back with you.
Was there minutes taken of that meeting?
I would have to check. I do not know if we have the minutes because it's a retreat
Right.
and it's mostly discussions and then the appropriations come back to the board.
Okay. I wish you would because I've always been curious where that 1.8 came from, the figure. You know, I don't know
We
if
can
it
come
was-
back and look at
I
the
don't know if
budget.
it was negotiated when you and the mayor did the resolution or who
No,
all
sir.
did I don't know who did the resolution even.
No,
I
sir.
did. Well, we
Right.
sent it back and forth about 3 times. The mayor had some comments on it. When it came out of committee, we just started.
I guess probably some concern I had was that the resolution was never discussed amongst any of us other than y'all.
Oh, it came out of committee.
It came out of finance, didn't it, Mr. Blake?
Yeah, also the education committee when you guys had your big presentation
Yeah.
on there. That's how.
Anyway.
That was the catalyst to the whole conversation.
Well, again, I go back to my curiosity. I didn't know who come up with 1.8.
Well, I'll speak to that if you don't mind.
Sure.
That was the number that I've been wrong once that I had, but it went to the mayor, and I guess I'm making the safe assumption that when I put that in there, it was the number for our portion of the track. If they wanted to do more, then they would have to fund any extra than that. But 1.8 is what I heard, and I ran it through the process. So, but then I think the new number, if you want to go there, is 2.3 or something like that. So it's fluid. There's no doubt, but it had many eyes on it.
I've just always wondered why didn't you come up with 2 million or 1.5. What, just the figure 1.8, and I guess it came from the retreat, when y'all were talking about 2.1 for the tracks.
Mhm.
Took out 300 for, Walker Valley's track, and then that left 1.8. But anyway, okay, thank you,
You're welcome.
all for now.
We're still on this this amendment. So Susan, you got 1,825,000, and all of that is going into Fund 141, account 76100, regular capital outlay. The three things that you have itemized, the Commissioner Offer just referred to, the field house, the baseball field house, the Walker Valley bleachers, and the Walker Valley track. How much do you have appropriated, more of an itemization for each one of those? I assume that they're on projects, and how much, I have an idea on the field house, but how much do you have, and I assume that that equals the 1.8?
Yeah, the 1.8 is actually $1 million for land. It's a 75,000 additional for the field house. There was already some in our regular capital outlay when we started the year. There was 450 for the Walker Valley bleachers and 300,000 for the Walker Valley track.
Okay. I might have to ask you this. How about this? Make it easier. When you get a chance, no big hurry, but can you send that what you just said over to Lori, and she'll get it to all the finance members? That'll be easier instead of me just trying to write as you speak. But that gives us the itemization of how much you're out of that 1.8. Those three things are going to happen. But you said land as well.
There's a $1 million appropriation.
But you have that. I guess that's the confusing part. You have 1.8 up coming out of your undesignated fund balance. You got 1.8 for regular capital outlay. You have 1 million for land. And that's more than 1.8.
It's 1 million for land and 825,000 capital outlay. There's 825,000 going to 707, going to 750.
So that one, on our amendment, we see 1.825. So I guess that's the summation of 707 and 715.
Yes.
Okay. My bad. You guys understand what you see your amendment? That top number there is the total of 707 and 715. So I'm used to the sum always being at the bottom after you add things, not on the top or whatever. All right, very good. So the 800, correct, the 825 is the total of the field house, the bleachers, and the track.
Yes.
825,000. And then the transfer of 3,460,000 is what's coming out of 141 over to 177. All right, we'll see that here in a second. Very good. All right, Commissioner Alford, please.
Capital outlay, is that secret or is that
Dr. Cash, if you don't mind, I'm sorry.
It's just in the process of being reviewed. We don't have a purchase at this point.
that one budget for Walker
Yes,
budget
yes,
additional
yes.
property? Play it, other people's property.
Yes, yeah. I've already asked the mayor for a school building meeting at some point. And then we also have the property on Blue Springs that when we get to that point, would be a new elementary school, of course, with the board's approval. On our board meeting on Thursday, there is a vote to, it's listed as an agenda item for the property on Lauderdale Highway, beside Walker Valley. It's 50 acres. 50. Well, that's under review right now for an elementary school for the future. It would not be an immediate building project, but to purchase land for the future, and it's under review right now. Yes, sir.
3?
Well, not to, we own, we already have a
Yeah, so yeah.
Blue Springs.
Well, they don't need to buy Blue
No.
Springs twice.
No, Blue Springs has already been purchased. Yeah. Yeah.
Still have property.
If this, you good? So if you're pulling $1 million out of your undesignated fund balance and putting it into 715 land, but you don't have any, I guess the question I have, why move the money over now if you have no?
Because we're under review and negotiations at this point for the property on the north end for a future elementary school, but we have not solidified that.
Any other questions? Commissioner Alford.
Time frame on when y'all purchase this property, are y'all looking at 2 years, 3 years, 4 years, 5 years, 6 years, 7, 8, 9 years?
That would be a decision by the Board of Education and working with the mayor and the commissions on funding.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
So in essence, when you have these 3 properties, you're going to obviously buy them to put a school on, like you just said.
Yes, sir.
Then we have to start working together. But
Yes, sir.
3 new schools
Yes, sir.
in the next.
Well,
Huh.
Blue Springs will have to come on as the first build. That would have to be the first
That was
build.
part of the discussion a while back.
Again,
if you
that
have
has to be
property,
voted on by the Board of Education, but that would be my recommendation, is that is the first school that we build.
Any other questions? All right. Thank you, Dr. Cash. So this is amendment on page 12 and 13. Do I have a motion? We already have a motion in a second. Any further discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor say aye. Opposed say no. Passes 3-0 and 2 absent. Moving on to page 14. This is also staying with the schools. She is decreasing her fund balance of $51,525.85 and increasing her expenses, other supplies and materials. This is for the Pi Center, and she says remaining program funds for FY25. Do I have a motion to accept the amendment? A motion from Commissioner Mason. Have a second from Commissioner Alford. Any further discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor say aye. Opposed say no. Passes 3-0 and 2 absent. And that'll take us to page 19, I believe, Lori. There we go. Staying with schools. Oh, I can barely read this tiny writing. Okay, this is all your 177 here that you just mentioned. My eyes aren't good today. You guys can see it. Basically, she's moving all that money from the 141 that we just passed into 170. She's got it itemized, and adjustments for actual expenditures.
And can I ask,
Yeah, please.
the
I'm-
building construction on this amendment, the 177 fund is for what?
We have 117,854 going into 706. Well, the other one's 706 as well, and the other one is 3,188,413. Is that right?
Yeah, but does it name what projects? I mean, I pick up on various projects. Is that where you're doing the 2 or 3 additions?
Yeah, Susan.
So, yeah, so we've got money going for some pie and discount adjustments, but the majority of the construction is Coy Middle School CDC expansion. We have started Parkview that we are hoping to start soon. The vestibule at Bradley that is currently under construction, and some money for the science that we can.
Yeah, we got 251 OMCDC PV BCHS OMCDC PV and swing. Whatever swing is.
Science wing. I only get
Oh, swing.
I
Oh,
only get so many characters to work with.
I was like, that's a heck of a swing. $900,000. Is that it, Mayor? Very good. All right, do we have a motion and a second on this? I'm sorry. No. Do I have a motion from Commissioner Alford? I have a second from Commissioner Mason. Any further discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor say aye. Opposed say no. Passes 3-0 and 2 absent. That takes us to all the documentation. That's it for schools.
Thank you very much. I'm going to be slipping out. I don't normally do that, but I'm going to try to get to Rick
You're like our
Smith's
frequent
mother's
flyer.
funeral. Yeah, most of y'all know Rick, and if you could remember his family in your prayers today, I'm sure they'd
Absolutely.
appreciate that.
Yeah.
So I'm going to try to make it.
Thank you, Susan. All right, next one is County Clerk. This is her annual move from the reserve accounts into her expense lines. You see there, she's moving $29,468.41 from her reserve account into her $499. Do I have a motion to accept the amendment? I have a motion from Commissioner Mason. I have a second from Commissioner Alford. Any further discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor say aye. Opposed say no. Passes 3. They're all reserves. That's right.
They're all
So-
county clerk's reserves.
Yeah, so we're going to do page 24, 25, 26, 27. All together as a package deal, right? We've had a chance. So we're going to do the amendments from 24 to 20.
23
Seven.
to 27.
Do I have a motion to accept the amendments? I have a motion from Commissioner Mason. I have a second from Commissioner Alford. Any further discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor say aye. Opposed say no. Passes 3 and 2 absent. That takes us to page 28. Register of Deeds also doing the same thing. $82,010.30 moving from a reserve account into her data processing. Do I have a motion to accept the amendment? I have a motion from Commissioner Alford. I have a second from Commissioner Mason. Any further discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor say aye. Opposed say no. Passes 3 and 2 absent. Get into misdemeanor probations. This is the $10,000 from the DUI, decrease in reserves, and going into his $399 with balance of 0. Do I have a motion to accept the amendment from Commissioner Mason? I have a second from Commissioner Alford. Any further discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor say aye. Opposed say no. Passes 3 with 2 absent. Rich, did you want to say anything? Good. Next one is misdemeanor probation, $10,485.25, also decreasing his reserve account, increasing expenses with the drug and DUI court program for alcohol and drug treatment. Do I have a motion to accept the amendment? I have a motion from Commissioner Alford. I have a second from Commissioner Mason. Any further discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor say aye. Opposed say no. Passes 3 and 2 absent. The remainder of that amount is $10,485.25. This is decreasing obviously the DUI funds, adult recovery court. This was per the quote unquote formula that we came up a couple of years ago. The first 10,000 and then 50-50 on the remainder. Just a little history. Do I have a motion from Commissioner Alford? I have a second from Commissioner Mason. Any further discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor say aye. Those say no. Passes 3 and 2 absent. Rich, did you have anything? Please. I can't hear you.
No, sir, I just wanted to be here in case you all had questions.
Oh, well, we appreciate that. No. But we got you here. I'm gonna take advantage of you. You have a concern, I believe, about their probation department with some of the new laws coming down effective January 1. It'd be a good time for you to update the committee on what's going on.
Well, two major concerns is anybody charged with aggravated domestic assault now as a condition of the bond has to have a GPS mark. Also, anybody charged with a Class A, B, C, D felony as a condition of their bond will be placed on pretrial supervision with us. So, it's going to increase our caseload quite a bit.
So basically, what you're saying is that you're gonna have more ankle bracelet requirements by
Correct.
law,
Correct,
and you're gonna have more people on your probation program.
correct. Yeah, we will be putting more.
That's the big deal, is they've
Yeah.
gotta put ankle monitors on them.
So who has to pick up the tab, if you don't mind me asking?
Well, the defendant will pick up the tab on the ankle monitors. It'll be a condition of their bond. If they can't pay the fee for the ankle monitor, they won't get out. And this 10,000 will help because we'll probably exceed our amount that we set aside in terms of GPS expense.
How much of the 10,000 did you use last budget? I didn't get a chance to look at that.
We may have had 2,500 left over.
Out of the 10,000?
Yeah.
So yeah, the odds are, once this goes into effect January, the 10,000 may not be sufficient.
Right. Plus the fact that if you're on work release, you have to have a GPS monitor on as well.
Okay.
So
Any questions, Commissioner Mason, Commissioner Alford?
Yeah.
Commissioner Alford, please.
How many ankle monitors do we have out presently or averaging?
well, right now we got about 25 out. And what happens is when those cases on aggravated domestic assault get put off and they stay in Sessions Court, they stay on GPS until those cases get adjudicated. So, it could be, I mean, we've had people on ankle monitors for 6 months. It's $56 a week for them to pay for.
More the better then, I guess,
Well,
money-wise.
some sense, yes.
But if they were incarcerated in jail, it would cost us average for $74
Yeah,
a day.
absolutely.
So,
Yeah.
from our point of view, that's a savings.
Yep.
Thank you, Rich. Appreciate you being here.
Hey, thank you.
Renee, did we vote on this
On which one?
on page 32, the 64,000?
No, we've not.
Do I have a motion and a second?
No.
All right, I have a motion from Commissioner Alford, I have a second from Commissioner Mason. Any further discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor say aye. Opposed say no. Passes 3 with 2 absent. Moves us to page 33, the Election Commission. She is either increasing or decreasing.
She's
Just-
increasing revenue.
Just kidding, I was trying to make a joke, it didn't work. Because she circled both, and then she X'd out, and then she X'd out another one.
It's increasing revenue.
So it's money coming in, $27,402.59, and she's increasing her expenses to pay for the security system over at the election office. Do I have a motion to accept the amendment as presented? I have a motion from Commissioner Mason. I have a second from Commissioner Alford. Any further discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor say aye. Opposed say no. Passes 3 with 2 absent. And there's the contract for the grant on page 34 and 35. Then we go to the circuit clerk. She is decreasing her reserve account of $80,483.33 and increasing her expenses, and she's itemized that, and it leaves her with a balance of 0. Do I have a motion to accept the amendment? I have a motion from Commissioner Mason. I have a second from Commissioner Alford. Any further discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor say aye. Opposed say no. Passes 3 with 2 absent. Takes us to Parks and Rec. And 4,500. These are donations for the disc golf. You see the itemization right there from the people making the donation. I have a motion to accept the amendment from Commissioner Mason. I have a second from Commissioner Alford. Any further discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor say aye. I'm sorry, let me back up. Commissioner Alford, please.
I want to decoration Or where's this, when they turn in money like this, what's happening to it?
Well, what this is showing you, of course, the checks go in the bank, but what this is showing you is it's reported as revenue, those $4,500, and then it's going into the recreation budget, 426, which is a line we created just for disc golf, the construction of.
Then if they want something, they come through you to get reimbursed people, or how?
Now, this is to pay for the construction of it, which is,
That's what I mean.
we're paying those
construction costs
bills,
and stuff like that.
right, it goes through the recreation budget, yeah.
Any further discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor say aye. Opposed say no. Passes 3 with 2 absent. Takes us to the Bradley County Sheriff's Office. She is increasing her revenue. She's increasing her, that revenue supposed to be expense? Where she's itemizing her,
Yes.
This is the amount not spent from the year before.
okay. So where it says revenue and she's got to itemize, scratch that and put expense.
It's really
Yes.
coming from,
$15,544. Traffic safety grant. Do I have a motion to accept the amendment? I have a motion from Commissioner Alford. Do I have a second from Commissioner Mason? Any further discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor say aye. Opposed say no. Passes 3 with 2 absent. Sticking with the Bradley County Sheriff's Office, $79,200, increasing revenue and increasing expenses, so it's money coming in. This is the post-certified employees who met the requirements. I have a motion to accept the amendment as from Commissioner Alford. I have a second from Commissioner Mason. Any further discussion? Mayor?
Cassandra, we're putting it in service. Did they technically have to go to in-service, or is it just a retainer? They still have to do, so it's, just make sure everyone understands, you know, we do this once a year already. This is a second one, right? Right. So there's 2 supplements coming in this year to pay for in-service training, which can think of it as a retainage bonus, so to speak, even though there's some training required. Does that make sense?
It
The
does.
state agreed to fund a second round of in-service training, which is a good thing. I just wanted to make sure y'all understood that.
Cassandra, I can't hear you.
Paid out once it's approved by you all. I have a list there. And then around Christmas time, when we do our in-service, that will pay them. It will overdraw that line, but we'll get that check back.
Is this one 800 also? Okay. So they're getting 2 $800 bonuses, or however you want to think of it, okay?
Do I have a motion and a second on this yet? Commissioner Alford? No, we're getting that. That's on the agenda.
Mhm.
I refer you to the agenda. All right, we have a motion, we have a second. I do find it interesting the state of Tennessee uses their money for their training, but not for all the other departments. Some training we had to pay for. The inside joke.
In my opinion, the state is trying to help out with retention.
Right.
That's oversimplifying it somewhat, but I think that's really what's going on.
And I applaud it.
I
But-
wish they would do that with ambulance too, but still, at least they're doing it with.
Or
yeah.
county commissioners.
Well, that would be arguable, but no, I'm just kidding.
Just kidding. That was my attempt at a joke. Didn't work. All right. Any further discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor say aye. Opposed say no. Passes 3-0. And there is the check going on to Bradley County Sheriff's Office, $15,204.80. She is decreasing her fund balance, and she is increasing her expenses in line 354 transportation. This is grant money.
This
So-
is unspent grant money from last year. They got a new grant this year, but this is the money that was unused last year that we're carrying forward.
Motion to accept the amendment. I have a motion from Commissioner Mason. I have a second from Commissioner Alford. Any further discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor say aye. Opposed say no. Passes 3 with 2 absent. Then we get into the litter program, Commissioner Mason. Increase in revenue and increase in expenses. She has it itemized there from the salaries and operation costs. Do I have a motion to accept the amendment? I have a motion from Commissioner Alford. I have a second from Commissioner Mason. Any further discussion? Mayor?
Not only is this one kind of a sore spot, the state for some reason is slow as heck about reimbursing us on this one. We've got half of last year's, looking to get the other half sometime, I think they said by Christmas. So they're way behind on reimbursing on this one, just so you'll know. It's an FYI. It's a great program, but the state for some reason is way behind. And then they've also changed it where they can't use this grant money for reimbursing for benefits. So if you'll notice, these amendments don't go into the benefits line. A good legitimate question, if you're okay to be asked, is how are you handling the benefits for the people that are working in the litter program?
We have one that's working in the litter grant, and I'll just be honest, since we haven't been reimbursed, I haven't actually started paying his salary yet because that's being reimbursed for his salary. I do have some extra money. As of right now, if you're looking at the litter grant budget, you will notice that his salary is not being as of right now. So once I feel comfortable that we're going to be reimbursed, I will then salary.
And they say we're going to be reimbursed, but for some reason, this one program is just way, way behind. I don't know why.
But
And
how
then
in
they
the
put
world?
this restriction in there too now. It's a program that you would think they would be expanding litter across the state. I've got one of the T-shirts, "Don't Trash Tennessee."
Yeah. And it-
But for some reason, that this particular one has issues. We've all contacted the state, and the last time when they sent a check, they said expect the other one at December, which was a year later. I don't know why they didn't just send the check for the whole amount, but they didn't. I just wanted you all to know that.
But how can they consider Social Security a benefit? It's not a benefit.
Well, any of those, they're
I get it. I'm just,
employee
it
benefits.
was
yeah.
somewhat rhetorical question. Social Security is clearly not a benefit. And neither, I don't see, Medicare on here, that's FICA, but I can understand the others, but anyway. Social Security is not a benefit.
And they've always paid it in the past.
Yeah,
but
it's just
this is something new.
A new
that-
restriction.
And then they
It
said
was-
last night that they got extra money for the tire thing anyway. All right, so we have a motion and a second. And all right, any further discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor say aye. Opposed say no. Passes 3 and 2 absent. Sticking with the Bradley County Sheriff's Department, 2,500 increase in her revenue, increase in expenses. This is money from the city of Dayton. Any further? Do I have a motion to accept the amendment from Commissioner Mason? I have a second from Commissioner Alford. Any further discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor say aye. Opposed say no. Passes 3 with 2 absent. And there's the invoice from the city of Dayton. That takes us to page 42. And decreasing the fund balance of 44,000 even, and it's going into, this is money from securities, the tech grant. All right, do I have a motion to accept the amendment from Commissioner Mason? I have a second from Commissioner Alford. Any further discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor say aye. Opposed say no. Passes 3 with 2 absent.
It's the one you questioned last month. Remember, you rolled it.
And they got their numbers right. We checked that. What is the, I'm sorry, yeah. All right. Service rendered? All right, so we'll take the rest of the amendments, page 55 through 70. Thank you. As a package deal, do I have a motion to accept the amendments as presented? Services rendered from Commissioner Alford. I have a second from Commissioner Mason. Any further discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor say aye. Opposed say no. Passes 3 with 2 absent. Unless there's any extras, Mayor, that concludes all of the amendments. Then we'll go to agenda item A. As you well know, the full commission referred to the finance committee. They've already full commission approved the purchase of 10 of output voltage gloves and asked finance to come up with a way to pay for it. Obviously, Art will use art money for it. This is where I need Cassandra, or the mayor. So, Mayor, we're gonna use art money to pay for these. I think the estimate was $1,500 per pair, right, Commissioner Oliver? And then, there, I think $700 for training, to train the trainer that he said. So, Mayor, what's the accounting piece on getting this done? Do we have to,
Somebody total that up right quick. You're saying $1,100 times 10 plus how much for training?
I think it was $750 for training, train the trainer.
I'm not totaling it. Anyway, that total, I think it would be better if you approve it, finance, and send it to the commission, and I'll have you an amendment like I've done before after the fact to take it out of ARP.
That works for me.
You know, I'll take care of it. I'll do that total, and I'll take it out of the 128 interest box, okay?
There you go. Well,
Well, if Cassandra's comfortable with it, I wish she would send us the total cost of 10 pairs.
hey,
Because I would rather have something on file saying,
I haven't been so I don't have any.
Commissioner Alford, do you have something?
anyway, to do it all properly, she needs to get this information. She needs to sign off on it and send it to us so that the amendment is based on that request.
All right, Lori has it. Cool.
Send it to Cassandra so she can. Then when it comes time, you would do the PO for it, yeah. If we do it the way I just suggested, it'll be October 1st when it's actually amended into the ARP, so then any time after that. Does that all make sense?
Yep.
Especially being ARP,
I didn't know how
just
to, I didn't
want
know
all
what,
that.
I mean, I knew that's why I put it on the agenda. I didn't know, I knew we're obviously gonna have to amend it. I just, the amounts and how she wanted to handle it. And I mean, they'll get the gloves, I guess, sometime in October. Or it could be a Christmas present, who knows?
We'll do that instead of the bonus.
All right, so that's item A. We got that all taken care of. Then we go to the agenda item of item B, Public Water Fund, and I'll recognize Ms. Moultrie. She's got an
Thank you,
update
Chairman
for us.
Wade. Okay, so today we have 3 requests for public water funds, public water funds to consider. The first one is 330 Rakestraw Road Southwest, requesting funds for 1,000 linear feet of 6-inch water lines. And you can find the project details for this on pages 2 through 5 of your agenda packet if you want to follow along. The applicant currently does not have access to water at this location and plans to build a home in the next couple of months. Cleveland Utilities cannot confirm the number of affected homes, but noted there are, quote, multiple dwellings, end quote, on the tract. The total cost of the project is estimated to be $85,000, but could go higher due to potential installation challenges such as multiple drainage crossings and minimal ditch area. Cleveland Utilities will commit $20,000 to the project, leaving $22,000 for Bradley County and $42,500 for the private property owner or owners. There's also a letter in your packet from Southeast Tennessee Development District stating that this project does meet the requirements of the program and recommends approving this project. And I know at the last Finance Committee meeting, someone asked if we had recently done a water project on Rakestraw Road, and yes, it was an ARP. project, and it totaled $4,301.53. It is, it's just a different section of the road, yeah. So that's, that's the first project, and I think it'd be helpful if I could just go through the three projects and then you make your decision at the end, because you don't
Fine.
want to, okay. So our second request for public water funds is 1657 White Oak Valley Road Northwest. It's found on pages 6 through 8 of your packet. The applicant has resided at this location for a number of years and recently learned that the well is contaminated. So there they have their home, they've been there for quite a while, and all of a sudden, they're gonna have to do something for water, they can no longer use their well. The total cost to install 360 linear feet of water lines is $26,913. Cleveland Utilities will fund $14,400, leaving a balance of $12,513 for the project. Again, Southeast Tennessee Development District letter is in the packet, and they recommend funding this program or this project as it meets the criteria of the program, and they recommend $7,200 for the county portion. The third and final request for water funds is Hewitt Street Lot 16, and you can see that on pages 9 through 12 of your agenda packet. The applicant does not yet have a home on this property, but plans to move a manufactured home to the site later this fall. There's no water access to this property, and the total estimated cost to extend 2-inch lines recommended by Cleveland Utilities, 300 linear feet, is $13,000. Now, the Southeast Tennessee Development District review letter is also found in the packet, and they recommend not funding this project due to it not meeting the 4-inch minimum line requirement established by the program. And again, you're probably thinking, well, then why can't we do 4? But it's I guess water can go stale, and Cleveland Utilities does not want to have to worry with that. So the 2-inch line, since there's hardly anyone on the roadway that would use this water, they recommend a 2-inch line to ensure potable water. So those are the three projects, and this year we have $34,778 available in the public water fund. The two projects recommended by Southeast Tennessee Development District total $29,200. So that's where we sit with our applications. Those are the only three that we have. Quick recap: 2 of them do meet the criteria, and they are recommended by Southeast Tennessee Development District. 1 does not meet the requirement, and they recommend not approving the project.
What about Banker Road?
Well, I don't want to conflate the issues, but I can
It's
go ahead
totally
and tell you
separate.
a little bit about that. So you'll recall we did a number of water projects with ARPA funds. And last November, the commission approved a resolution appropriating $154,375 to install roughly 1,300 linear feet of water lines to serve 5 or 6 homes on Banker Road. Banker is located just off of Frontage Road in the 1st District. Cleveland Utility staff were surveying and prepping the area recently when they were approached by a property owner who notified them that Banker Road is a private road. Now, keep in mind, with ARPA fund water projects, we did not follow to a T the public water funds policy because we just chose not to, and somehow it slipped by that this is a private road.
So interrupting you, right now, we're funding a water line on a private road, $154,000.
Well,
I asked Cleveland Utilities to hold on, sit tight, and let us get through the discussion before they move any farther. But yes, so when I spoke with Cleveland Utilities representatives, they said we can either move forward with the project as it is, and it is a rather expensive project when you compare it to other water projects because the topography required a booster pump, and hence the extra cost. So we can move forward as we sit, $154,000, and only one, I think it's important to note, only one property owner has expressed interest to Cleveland Utilities to tap onto this.
Is it all on the private road, or is it public and then goes on to a private road?
It's all private.
It's all
Now,
private?
there is a utility easement though, so that if we wanted to move forward, we could, because they can use that utility easement.
You know, but
The second option that Cleveland Utilities threw out is that they could set a meter at, Banker Road at frontage, because currently there's not that access, so that they could set the meters there, and the folks could run a service line to the meter. Cause think about this, so when we do water projects today, even though the line is out in front of your home, you still have to call a plumber and have them run a service line from that water line in front of your house into your house. So these folks would have to run the service line from their home down to frontage Banker.
yeah, I understand what you're saying. This 154, if it moved forward, what size line is it?
Let's see.
Does it meet our criteria? Because
It does.
so it's a 6-inch line
Let me just,
on a private road.
well, I believe it's a 4-inch line.
Either,
which is
so
our
it don't meet
minimum.
our criteria.
No, it does. It isn't
I
our
thought
criteria.
we required 6. But anyway, if we do that, we pay to set the meter on the public road with ARP funds. They get a plumber, run their own line, they would probably only need a 2-inch line, since it's just a private line.
Correct. And Cleveland Utilities has offered to pay, so we wouldn't have to use any ARP monies to set those meters.
They
there.
would set the meter?
They said that they would.
They're
take
offering to
that
set the
cost.
meter for them. That's a savings right there for them.
It is.
They've got a long way to run, probably a 2-inch line on their own. And I don't know these people, but again, it's like a driveway. We don't do that.
I agree. I thought that once I heard the initial pieces of it, that this is a no-go.
Yeah,
The interested party that filed the application and who wishes to tap onto this water she'll be about 600 linear feet to get to her driveway. And then she'll pick up her normal costs from there, but she would have to incur, if we go with Plan B, the
driveway
600
off of the
600
private
linear
road.
feet, yes.
but still, why is it a private road? It sounds like it's more than a driveway,
It is more. There's about 5 or 6 homes on the road.
but they didn't build it to standards, so they've never requested it to be taken in by the county. I just don't see how we can run public utilities on a non-public road. I mean,
I agree. And I'm all for water, but I
me
understand.
too. I want to help them get water, but those 5 or 6 people have built houses on a private road, which is a driveway for 5 or 6 houses, however you want to look at it. I don't think we've ever knowingly gone off of public roads to do that.
Not water, I don't think. I agree, Mayor. I mean, my initial thoughts, and I'm open, not minded, is that based off of what Lori's told me, this project is going to have to be scrapped. I mean, it says obviously the president.
I think you guys would have to recommend to full commission to tell me to take it off, because it is budgeted in the ARP fund.
Passed
But
by
that was
resolution.
done without knowing this was a private road.
So I'll get a vote here, Mayor, and I'll get it to a work session, to a voting session to do just that. But private, I mean, it's,
The 6 ought to go together and run themselves a water line down that private road.
so Commissioner Mason, you understand the dilemma we're in and what the challenge is? Commissioner Alford?
Yes, did you understand that the city said they'd set the meters?
Cleveland Utilities
So,
said
I mean,
they
Cleveland
would pay
Utilities,
to
yeah,
set the
they'd
meters.
set the meters. I think if they'd set the meters, I'm like you, I think we just let it sit. If they want to tie on to it, that's their business.
Gonna be a
We need it.
costly thing, but again, I don't.
And this is on, which one? This is the,
This is the non-agenda item that just recently popped up.
yeah, that's right.
But you do need to address it if you can, because get it out of the budget.
Commissioner Mason or Commissioner Alford, will you guys make a motion to do that?
I'll make a motion that we send it to commission to make a final?
Our
To
recommendation,
remove
our
it.
recommendation
Our recommendation would be not to do
is
it.
to defund it and take it out of the budget.
Defund it and take it
And
out of
then
our.
that'll free up 154 out of that bucket. I have a
154.
motion from Commissioner Alford. I have a second from Commissioner Mason. I'm sorry, Lori, or you guys got the motion? All right. Any further discussion on that? Thank you, Lori. I'm sorry, Commissioner Alford, please.
Do we need to take it to work committee first?
I'm gonna,
Or
after it
just
passes,
Go ahead and straight to the commission to vote on it.
I'll, at our next work session, or I can do it at a voting session.
I'd take it straight to a voting.
I'll do it
session
through
for
committee and
good.
district reports. Lori will type it up for me, and we'll do that. I'll give the mayor what he needs. Yeah. Yeah, that'll free up 154 out of that bucket. All right, I have a motion, I have a second. Any further discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor say aye. Aye, 3 in favor, 2 absent. Laura, if you'll help me out on that.
I'll be happy to. Mr. Chairman, we also need to go back and talk a little bit more about the applications for public water funds.
Yep.
We handled the,
So Rakestraw, is within, this is a recommendation, Tennessee, Southeast Tennessee, gives it a thumbs up. It fits within the budget and it meets all the criteria. So, this, in my opinion, should be funded. Do I have a motion you need a vote on this, right, Lori?
yes.
So, may I have a motion from Commissioner Mason. I have a second from Commissioner Alford. Any further discussion? Commissioner Alford, please.
I guess my concern on this is that we've already run one to a certain house down there, but it looks to me like this is running to a lot of vacant land. Is that true that eventually I think that's gonna be a subdivision?
Well, as the policy, I think it's important to remember that the policies does not address, how the property will be used in the future. I had that conversation with Chuck Hammond. I've already covered that with him, and there's nothing to indicate that there are any development plans. All we know is that the gentleman wants to build a home and does not have access to water.
And it's providing the proper size line to an area that doesn't have water, which will help in future development, which is kind of what we're about to.
Okay.
All right.
And he's
Any
paying,
further-
and he's paying $42,500 out of his.
Yeah, I mean,
pocket.
he's not getting out scot-free.
That's,
So this motion is to fully fund at 22,000?
Yes, ma'am.
22.5, right?
20,
And then just be sure, the one that was just before was art money. This is back to HCI.
Yeah.
All right. Have a motion, we have a second. Any further discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed say no. Passes 3 with 2 absent. Now we're going to 1657.
Hold on, Marlon. Make
Sorry.
sure that we're okay on the numbers. The way I wrote it down, you make sure if I deciphered from it, 22.5 for the county, 20 for Cleveland Utilities.
I've got 22 for the county, 20 for CU.
So does the development district have their own numbers? They've got 85,000, 20 for Cleveland Utilities, 42.5
Yes,
for the.
22.5, my apologies, yes.
Okay, I just want to make sure we had the right numbers.
Yeah.
So it's 42 for the owner, 20,000 for Cleveland Utilities, 22.5 for the county. It's what you all just agreed to.
Yes, sir.
Okay, now what?
All right, so that passes. Now we're on to 1657 White Oak Valley Road. That also meets the requirements and it comes with a recommendation. Do we need to review the numbers? But it still fits within our budget, the appropriation. I have a motion from Commissioner Alford. I have a second from Commissioner Mason. Any further discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor say aye. Opposed say no. Passes 3-0. May, you have something?
That one, to make sure we're right on the numbers, 14.4 for Cleveland Utilities. They're paying 50%. This is the way our water fund's supposed to work. 50% Cleveland Utilities, and we split the other 50. That last one, nor many of ours anymore, follow that guideline, but that's how it's supposed to be. So they're doing 50%, 14.4, and then I've got Bradley County down for 7,200 and the owner down for 7,200. And you might notice this is an 8-inch water line. Wonder why. They must be expanding,
Future expansion,
expecting
perhaps.
future development use of this one for sure. Which that's okay. I mean,
Yeah.
that's why our You go back years ago, that's why we don't want the 2 and 4s though, because you can't expand on them. There's a lot out there that the utilities put in early on. Ocoy especially did, and now they're having to go back and replace them because of the development. So we didn't want to be a part of that.
Okay, so Lori, 1657 White Oak Valley has been approved. And then the last one, Hewitt Street Southeast Lot 16 does not come with a recommendation, and it's based. The recommendation is because of the size of the water line.
Yeah, it does come with a recommendation, and the recommendation is to not fund,
That's
as it doesn't meet the
I said
minimum
it
criteria.
wrong. The recommendation is a thumbs down. How's that? And it's because of the water line. So that's interesting in the sense that Cleveland Utilities actually wants a smaller line. Did I hear you correctly? 2-inch. And Southeast says it has to be at least 4. And Cleveland Utilities says we don't want to do 4.
Well, and that's sort of why utilities early on did 2 inches too. They're obviously not seeing development in the near future. And that's when she's talking about the storage of water thing. But 5 years from now, and I know nothing about this road or anywhere I'm talking about, but 5 years from now, if you go back to that road and you want to put in a subdivision, you can't hook to the water line, even though 2 inches is all they need today. You see what I'm saying?
So, I mean, I don't want to take it up right now. I want to think about it and whatever. But if Southeast Tennessee, I understand they're being, I don't mean this derogatory, legalistic. Policy says 4. They're looking at the policy. It's an if then else.
According to them, the policy says 6.
Is it 6 or 4?
Yeah,
I have-
it's 6, so but we need to, if we don't like the policy, then our options would be to adjust the policy.
That's what I was
We
going to
have
say.
a policy in place
Not
today.
today, at a different time. Is if Cleveland Utilities comes back, they're the engineers and they're the ones who basically do the homework. If they say 2-inch, then to me that should trump what the policy says. But we'll deal with that later. So we won't take any action on Hewitt Street at this time.
How much are they willing to pay? Cleveland Utilities.
Let's see.
I don't see where it says. It may say it, but I'm not finding it.
They didn't give an offer because it didn't meet the policy, so they didn't think there'd be, but now I'd be happy to go back and ask.
Yeah, I think
if
in
they
the
would
meantime,
consider that.
verify. You're recommending a 2-inch line? Or are you willing to go by our present criteria and fund 50% of it?
So
Because it sounds like they're recommending a 2-inch, but it don't sound like they're agreeing to pay any on it, at least not yet.
well, so Laura, if you'll do that,
Okay.
and we'll roll that to the October finance and take it up and see if there's any new developments on that. You don't mind? Very good. All right, so that should conclude item B unless I missed anything. Lori? Nope. All right, thank you, Lori. Next is item C, ARP open purchase orders. I've been looking at the open purchase orders and understanding how that works for ARP money, Fund 128. What I'd like to do is so Lori has what she needs to request the open purchase orders, and then I have a question for you. But to go ahead and on the last Friday of every month, just monthly, get a report of all open purchase orders for Fund 128. As we finish up the ARP program in the next year or two. Right now, everything's been quote unquote appropriated. You got purchase orders from the last budget. You got purchase orders, I guess now that the budget from the 23-24 has been closed. That opens up purchase orders from what I understand. Make long story short. What I'd like to do is get an approval from this committee asking Lori on the last Friday to request from Renee or whoever, I apologize, is it Emily, to get the purchase order report, and she'll send it to the finance committee or the full commission of whoever wants it. But it's good information as we look at how many purchase orders are open from previous years versus what we just budgeted, and then the mayor's recommendation that he provided and as well. So all that to say, if we can get a motion to ask Lori to make that request monthly, I would appreciate it. We have a motion from Commissioner Mason. I have a second from Commissioner Alford. Any further discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor say aye. Opposed say no. Passes 3-0. So, Lori, on the last Friday of the month, if you'll make that request and get it to the finance, 128 is the only one we're interested in. So, Renee, on that purchase order, as I've kind of understood and studied it a little bit, when you just closed the budget for the 23-24, is the last day of August, right here. So, does that mean that someone like Cassandra's here, so we'll pick on her? She has purchase orders in the last budget, the 23-24, and she hasn't used. Let's take the fence for example. It's just an example. That's the one that came to my mind. Right, she still has a little bit of money in there, right? She can still continue to use that purchase order, and she doesn't have to renew the purchase order or anything like that.
No.
Right, so you can still go into the previous budget from a purchase order now that the budget's been closed.
For a year.
Yeah, it's put into an encumbered account that it holds it there, so we can still use that purchase order.
Okay, but eventually it gets closed at some point in time. Either all the money runs out, or the project's done, or what have you. And if there's any difference between what was initially appropriated and then what was the actual cost is, that goes back into the fund balance.
That's correct.
And that's what, and for 128, that's what we want to keep track of, because we're getting into the thousands now, not the, the millions and stuff. So it'd be good for us to keep track of it as things come up.
The big thing about 128 is a lot of money is appropriated for things like broadband. There's no POs yet.
Exactly.
So the money's just sitting out there. It is budgeted, and I have to remember to budget it each year.
Right.
That's
So,
the way we're carrying it forward.
And I believe we have a purchase order on this property that we're going to send to you to close. Right. We have some water projects PO'd that I saw. And as we close those, then they go back into the fund balance, and then that becomes art money that we can put as the commission and work deems necessary. We could appropriate for new projects.
That's correct.
All right. So this, in our example, that 154, once it's all said and done right, that's something that.
That's probably not even PO'd, is it? It's a Cleveland utility.
We have four that are on there. That's.
They might have. Ocoee Utilities, I know, PO'd theirs.
Now the question comes is, obviously that was in the water bucket, so that 154. I mean, the buckets are sub-fund, right? I mean, so would we continue? We would have, let's say that 154 comes available. Would it have to be used for water, or could we use it? Could we move it in theory over to the interest bucket?
No, because then you're moving it from the amount that we have to, the $20,999,000 has got to be spent. It don't have to stay in water. It could go to
Right, that's what
affordable
I'm saying.
housing.
That's what
but
that's
it
all
don't
I'm
need to
asking.
go
Is
to
it doesn't have to
interest.
stay in water. I mean,
Right.
and that's what it initially approved, but we could move it over to interest and.
You
Can't
could
put
move it.
Can't put it in the interest bucket.
Right.
It has to stay over here in the one where we have to like say, water has to be reported separate than like say, we had 10 million that we used as our discretionary fund. This is one it's in the one that we have to, it was in the water, so we don't have to be in one that's got to be in.
So we could use it for affordable housing, or
Yeah.
if we could move
Yes,
it.
we could.
All right, thank you.
Or you could move it to the discretionary box, because we've never maxed it out, but you
Yeah, the
can't
10
move
million?
it to the interest.
Yeah.
Yeah. But even in the buckets that are not discretionary, we've followed the rules. So, I mean,
Oh, yeah.
all right.
We're just
so-
trying to keep it separate, and some of them, like affordable housing, they're probably a little pickier on because it's housing.
Yeah.
That's a big deal with federal. But
I
yeah,
just think that we got to do our due diligence to keep track of.
if
now
I
as-
know
as-
that an
as
amount
we get
got,
into the last 24 months of this program, I mean,
for example, what I would do, if public water got deducted 154,000, once that goes through, and I know that for a fact, I would probably move it over to the discretionary bucket, and that the next approved project would get paid out of discretionary.
Unless there's another water project.
Yeah, but I'm saying,
Yeah,
yeah.
yeah, I agree.
Right now, I've got to balance them all up again. They were all balanced when I gave you the last copy, but they're constantly getting out of whack just a little bit because of things like that. But the plan, as we know it on the last one, is still accurate. Those buckets all have to equal that 20,999,100. Those buckets, and that's why the interest bucket's separate, because those 3, 5, 6 buckets have to total that amount. And they did at the last time, but they do change a little bit all along with things like this.
But I anticipate that there's gonna be other purchase orders, because when we did those, they were estimates. I don't think anybody's kind of gone over, but
Yep.
there's gonna be some that the actuals were way off from the appropriations.
Somewhat. I mean, things like Cassandra's got some computers in there. It's a round figure. That won't be right. Although she'll probably make it right. She's got vests in there that's a round figure. Those round figures usually end up being $19,820 instead of 20.
Exactly. I mean, it could, that's what I'm saying. We're getting into the thousands.
Yeah.
Not the.
That's why if you were being picky, the boxes are never exactly accurate because of things like that.
Yeah.
I'll give you a good example, the park lights, and this is a note I've made, because as I know them, I make note of them, and then when I do the next update, I put them in there. The park lights, $800,000. Well, guess what? They were $799,438.
But you got, last month, we did a $200,000 ambulance.
Yeah, and that one.
You're gonna be close, but you'll save $1,000. It comes in at 198.
Yeah, we're fixing to PO that one, and it's 190 something also. Yeah.
There's a couple. Like I said, we're getting into the thousands, but I don't want to leave one penny and have to send back to the treasury.
The cannery thing.
The cannery's 34,000.
30,300.
Something like that, and
is in the budget.
She told me she's gonna order that boiler pretty soon or whatever.
Yeah, it's.
But she also.
They've requested, we have to pay half up front on that, so they order the boiler, and then when it comes in and they install it, we'll pay the other half.
Yeah.
It's a half up front deal. And then some of them will not have been PO'd when you get your first report, because with the latest things like Cassandra's sheriff vests, computers, those all had 10/1 dates on them, so she couldn't do them until October. Now, sometime in October, she can start POing them.
So from what I understand, the purchase order, the program, local government, whatever, you can't run a report that gives you all of the closed purchase orders in a date range. So in other words, if I said, give me all, for 128, give me all closed purchase orders from January 1 to current day, that report doesn't exist.
I don't think so. I can check and see if we can find one in there.
Because that way you can reconcile the open purchase orders and the closed ones. I mean, once we get these once a month, obviously, if one's not on there, it got closed. But a situation that could happen where you open up a purchase order on Monday and close it on Friday, and it wouldn't even show up. Very good. All right, I'm sorry. Please, Laura, you're part of it.
The two public water funds, the projects that were funded earlier today, could they be paid out of ARP funds, and then that would leave our public water fund fully funded for future applications?
The answer to that is yes, it could.
You know, my first thought, there's a lot less reporting.
Well, yes, but there may be an idea that as soon as we found out that 154 was going to be freezed up, that there is some other project that might need some funding. But
I got a couple of things when you get through.
are you on the agenda? Just kidding.
Huh? What did he say?
No, I was getting. They
Well,
made us.
I am,
Yeah,
but
was it yesterday? They said whether the odds of Blake having a 12-minute finance committee meeting. I was like, I'll take those odds, Commissioner. Anyway, that concludes all of that. Lori, I appreciate you making that request on the last Friday. Mayor, what you got?
and I am, he just skipped over me, report from county mayor. Do
Oh,
you
did I?
want, do you want
Yeah.
the credit card report or not?
Oh, that's because my screen didn't have you on
Yeah,
here.
that's computer stuff for you. You ought to do the old-fashioned way. Uh, But before I do the credit card report, because I don't care if I get skipped on that thing, you know that. Don't forget, I assume you're planning on doing it next month. You've still got to address the opioid fund, those programs.
Yeah, Adam asked that we move that to October.
That's what I figured you were gonna do, but you've got 200,000 in the budget. It's just a round figure. You don't have to do that. Last year you did 170, but I assume you'll bring those same people in, or are you gonna open it up to new ones, or however you're gonna do it?
Whatever the
But
committee.
that part of your budget hasn't been addressed. That's left up to you all. Who was there last night? 3 of yous were there. I didn't want to muddy the water at that meeting last night, but the way we've done this, I put certain things in the budget to help us with our budget out of the opioid fund that you all have to approve, of course, then when, with your budget. But I also do this part of it, which a lot of them are thinking of these programs when they talk opioid. I don't address it at all. I just put a open-ended amount there for you all to address. So if somebody like that lady from Monroe County didn't like how the county mayor up there was doing it, on this part of it, which is a big chunk of it, I leave it totally to you all to do. I put, again, I budgeted 200,000. It's up to you all how you divide it up, 1 person, 2 person, or 5 like it was last year, I believe. So make sure you understand that. I wanted to tell her that, but I knew it would get a lot of discussion going last night. I don't want to make those decisions, but I want to make sure you all do. That year is up, and they should be brought back in to give you an up-to-date report and make their new request, but however you all want to handle it. Having said that, on the credit card report.
But Mayor, real quick on that. So the 200,000 you just referenced, that's after the stuff that has been funded already with opioid that's budgeted. There's certain things that are going to be recurring that get paid first.
Right, I do the budget first.
And the
And
200,000
we're accumulating extra money, so I proposed 200 versus 170. But again, you can stay at 170, or you can increase the amount you give them, or you can add one. Remember last year you cut one out. That's totally up to you all. But yeah, all of those other things, anything I can justify to pay out of this, I'm putting it in the budget for y'all to approve. And you know, things like,
drug
the
court.
drug enforcement officers, what all have I got in there? Huh? Juvenile drug court.
Drug court's got money in there.
But again, the bulk of it, the 200,000, is what I leave up to you all to dish out for programs. That's the feel-good things that the state does want, but I'm not good at judging feel-good things. I think the drug investigators ought to be paid out of it. Drug court ought to be paid out of it. We give some money to adult drug court to help them do more. The more money they have, the more drug interdiction things, people they can send to that program. So those are all opioid funded programs. But then whether it be ATF, the bridge, and those programs, then is up to you. Does that make sense?
It does.
And you guys should have said, well, our county mayor does it the good way last night, but nobody wanted to say that. All right, back to the credit card report, except Mylan, and he just made a smart comment that he was being sarcastic, but, okay, credit card report. Bill Winters isn't here, so I'll go quickly unless you want to ask me questions. Fire department used it 3 times, all good. Assessor used it 4 times, all good. Is that enough information, or you want more?
That's
Okay, because I don't want to give it at all, you know that. Sheriff's Department, 5 times it was used, all good. Mayor, 2 times, all good. EMA, 1 time, all good. And the new one is juvenile. They used it 7 times, but it's all good. Any questions? No
Any
problems
questions
with
for the
credit card.
mayor? Seeing none? Oh, Commissioner Offer does have, we have had, no, we have had them do tests on some, because I saw the test results and I had to ask what the terminology meant, but I don't know if we do it on all.
Some have passed without proof and some have passed with proof, so, both ways. Certainly, it could be added to the policy to require confirmation that the well is contaminated.
We'll refer that to the policy committee. You want,
Okay, I'll add that.
so you make a motion to recommend this to the policy committee? We're still in session. I have a motion from Commissioner Alford to recommend this new policy change requiring a positive or negative, I guess it's negative, on the well before we do funding for HCI. Do I have a second? I have a second from Commissioner Mason. Any further discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor say aye. Opposed say no. Passes 3 and 2 absent. So we'll send that over to the policy committee. I think they got to look at something else as well on HCI about applicants who have applied in the past or something like that, and then double dipping. All right. Very good. Well, I guess we'll get the new committee assignments here pretty soon, right? Very good. Anything else before the finance committee? Getting us out of here before 1 o'clock. Seeing none? Please. Communication from the audience. Yeah, your 5 minutes is up. Just kidding. All right. Oh, well, Grant. If there's nothing else, our next meeting will be October the 7th. I believe that's it.
Address those programs in October. Are you not going to make the decisions on how to do it until October, or is that when you're going to schedule to bring in?
Well, Mayor, I was under the impression that the lady is going to come and chat with us about some of the constraints or something like that. I mean, I've watched the meetings online that CTAS has had. I mean,
Well, if you,
They-
of course, they push a task force being created. In our case, we're using finance. And I think it worked good this past year, but if you want to do it differently, you can. That's all I've told them is we've used finance. They brought in people from the community that were interested in applying. They listened to their proposals and they funded the ones they chose to fund.
yeah, I mean, I don't see how we cannot open it up for
Well,
new
yeah.
organizations.
But-
And we did tell them we're going to ask how successful were you with your mission.
Yeah, I think, but what I was thinking is if you agree now to bring them in October, schedule them to be here on that October 7th, all 4 or 5 of them, to give you an update, and also announce then that if there's anyone else that would like to apply or however you want to do it, so that in November you can make the decision.
So in October, you ask them to come in and give us an update on the previous year.
Everybody that got money
And-
this year, current year really, because it kind of bleeds over. We've given the money out, but they're still in that first year.
And I think I'll safely assume they used every bit that we gave them. They didn't.
Well, we won't know until they report, you're right.
Right. So in
And-
October, we'll ask them to come in and give us a report on how they did with the money that they already have, and then we'll set some timelines for
Applications will be due on this date, so that I think the goal should be to do it by November. I think that's what you did last year, wasn't it, Lori,
I
November?
guess
So if you don't, you'll get behind a month if you don't go ahead and do that now, is the only thing I was thinking.
I'm not in that big of a hurry though.
Well, they're not on a budget calendar, but it'd be nice if they stay as close to it as possible, you know. But they really are on a pretty much a calendar budget, January,
So-
because the time they get their money, it's January.
So in October, we'll have, we'll just like ATS the Bridge come and give us an update on how they did, and then in November, interview everybody and
With the
award
requests.
or interview them.
And if
then-
you want to wait till December to make your decision, that's fine
That's-
too,
that's-
but it ought to be going out by the first of the year.
Yeah. Anything else? Seeing none, we are adjourned. Thank you so much.
Okay.
so you'll have it stacked.
Yeah, that'd be good. And the invoice would be okay.
Total 700 training.
Okay. Oh. Huh? You're gonna have to take Tracy's lunch. She ain't gonna wanna do these again.
He's not